Alright, let's do it. Yeah. Wow, what a mess.
An hour later, we're set up. It's okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll leave that in, like, as if it were the Melt podcast. I don't know.
It's okay though. We all need patience, and as I was saying earlier, I want someone to be patient with me because I definitely mess up a lot when filming. So it's good. It's all practice.
You guys didn't see behind the scenes, but I just messed around with the camera for like an hour straight and forgot all the questions I wanted to ask her. But it's okay.
We're here.
So
we're here now.
Welcome back to the show, Respectfully Inspired with Aussie Films, and I want to start every episode by saying my why behind the podcast. So I want to inspire people to invest in their soul wealth. So not the classic wealth, which is your money, your possessions and achievements, but soul wealth, which is investing in your relationships and creating memories. Like, how do you want people to speak about you, basically? And I'm here with my guest, Serafina. She's a college YouTuber at San Diego State University, which I just dropped out of, and I used to be a college YouTuber here, so I relate to her very, very much. And I want to start with my first question, which I was watching your oldest YouTube video yesterday.
Gosh, cringy.
Your oldest video, and your oldest video is only like a year old, so it's not even that long ago.
Yeah, it's still cringy though.
Yeah,
I still cringe at the ones that I'm editing right now, so.
That's funny. Yeah. It was advice, and you said advice that you would give is that to enjoy your youth. That was your first piece of advice.
Yes.
And I think it's kind of ironic because you work like someone who's not young. You work like an adult. Like, this girl wakes up, goes to the gym at 5 a.m., edits vlogs all day, has a job, has an internship, and is busy, literally works harder than some adults. So do you feel like you're really living by your own advice of enjoying your youth?
Well, first thing, thank you for having me on the podcast. I appreciate it. I know you're just starting this up, so I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
And two, I wouldn't say, I am enjoying my youth, and everyone has a different definition of enjoying their youth.
Yeah.
For some, that's going out every single night, getting blacked out, forgetting stuff, which I like, do your thing, literally do your thing. That's what college could possibly be for, or whatever
You really
stage you're
recommend
at.
someone to do that?
I'm not the person to be giving advice to anyone because I have my own story, and people have to learn from themselves because maybe they need to go through that to find something within themselves that could help them later on in life. So I would say that I am enjoying my youth because I'm just doing what makes me content and what fulfills me. So I am enjoying my youth, I would say.
I find, like you, that when I work and I do things I'm passionate about, I am happier. But it is interesting though. You're saying like, I don't want to give people advice, but a lot of the videos you do are kind of self-help.
Yeah, sometimes they are advice, but it's all of like, take it as your own, if that makes sense.
Take it as your own.
And a lot of the advice that I do give is advice that I need to be telling myself. That's really what it is. Because all of that advice that I said in that high school video, that's still advice that could apply to me today. Any of that is stuff that I need to be taking in. And one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it. And for me, I think that teaching that and doing that helps me understand it even more.
When I was in high school, I always did really, like, I would not study for a single test, and I would always just, like, kill it on tests, specifically math.
You're that kid?
Yeah, I was that kid. And I think, though, like, going off the point you made, I think it's because I would always help other people. Like, they would be like, oh, you're the kid who's good at math. So I would teach them. And I think I would consider myself someone who didn't study, but what I didn't realize is that I was actually studying at the best form by teaching other people. And it even goes back to, the self-help content I made. It feels weird. I actually want to ask you this. Does it feel weird to make self-help content in the sense that it's like, you don't want to come off like you're putting yourself on a pedestal?
1,000%. That's why I almost stopped making. My videos are kind of all over the map right now. If you go to my channel, you could see vlogs, you could see a wide range of things. And when I actually, fun fact, I don't think I've ever told anyone this. I made a video and it was all about like why motivation sucks. And I filmed the entire thing, was editing it, and just had like, not like a mental breakdown, but I was just like, why am I making this video? Because I'm only, 20 years old now?
Yeah.
How could I be giving advice about stuff that I haven't even experienced yet? Because it's one thing, knowledge is one thing, but experiences are a whole nother thing. And I feel like I have more experiences that I have to fulfill in order for me to give that advice out.
Dude, I agree with you so much, and I really resonate. I kind of justify it the same way when I was making those self-help TikToks or shorts. I would feel kind of a lot like an imposter, like I'm too young to be giving this advice.
Yeah.
But I would justify it, and what you said is that, like, I'm not giving advice to other people. Like, it's there for them to take and interpret how they want, but it's for myself, and that by saying these things, the ideas are really resonating with me. And so I do relate to that.
There's a quote that I kind of like that goes with this. I want to make sure I'm saying it right, but it's, God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called.
That's good. That's good. And
Yeah, so I kind of think of that whenever I have those feelings of that imposter syndrome, or those feelings that I can't be someone giving advice, but one word that I could say could help someone out. So I just have to look at it in that light.
And I'm sure you're much like me, where you've heard other people say things young and you've been inspired by them. So it's like, who are you to count yourself out when you've been inspired by other young people?
Yeah,
so it's like,
100%.
But I did want to just ask, because I'm curious, could you like recap why in that video, why did motivation suck?
Motivation sucks because it's a feeling, and feelings are fleeting. It's not something that's consistent. If you rely on motivation, you're not going to get anywhere, because let's just say I have never worked out in my entire life, and I'm so motivated to get working out and stuff.
Yeah.
The first day you wake up, you're like, let's go, let's do this, okay? First day goes by, second day goes by, and then after you're just like, all right, fuck this, I'm not doing this anymore, because you relied on motivation. You have to be more disciplined.
That's good point. I always like...
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. I used to always
Sleep.
or the way I would say, motivation is fleeting. That's a good way to put it. But I would always tell myself, like, inspiration only comes around once in a while. So, like, use it. Like, when it comes around, like, if I ever feel inspired, like, maybe you're the same way, like, I want to drive down and shoot this video today, like... my dad raised me this way. My dad raised me that if you have something that you want to do, you do it right that second. And he always told me, like, if it's something that you can do that second and you think of it, you have to do it that second. And it's almost become like a toxic motivation for me, because I'll be about to get in bed and I really struggle with sleep routines. And I'll be like, all right, I'm going to fix my sleep routine, but I'll have an idea, and because this is how I was raised, like, maybe it's like, oh, I want to go shoot an hour-long video and it's at midnight, and I'll go do it, because I literally can't, like, it's just like so ingrained in me to live that way.
Interesting. I've actually had a similar experience with that, because sleep is very important to me.
Yeah.
And there's occasional times where I'll get into a really, really good deep flow state when I'm editing. Concept of time is just removed. It's just me and my computer. And then I'll look at the time all of a sudden, and I'll be like, oh shit, it's already like midnight, but I'm like, should I stay in this because it only comes so often, or should I prioritize that sleep? Yeah. I think it's a weighted balance.
It's a weighted balance. So I want to get into my second question, which is, as you pursue this path, which is, call it the creator path or entrepreneurship, do you feel like the more you accomplish your dreams, the less you relate to the average person?
Well, let's break that question apart a little bit, because the beginning of saying entrepreneurial route and creator, it's interesting, because I don't really right now, yes, I do YouTube. You could say I'm a YouTuber, but I refuse to call myself that.
Why?
I don't know why. I don't know why. And that's something I think I have to sit with myself. I think it's just because I've never really been a very, in art class, you always have those people that are just so creative and whatever. That was just not me. Nor am I math and analytical. I was just good at talking to people and doing that thing, And for me to be called a creator just sounds very interesting. I know there's so many different definitions of that, and that could mean so many different things. But at this moment, I wouldn't say that I'm I don't feel like I am yet.
Is it just the term YouTuber, or is it also the term creator?
I would say it's both, and it's just interesting. It's something I definitely want to work on.
Well, so because the reason I'm asking is that I feel like a lot of people don't want to call themselves YouTubers because it comes with a bad connotation.
Yeah, kind of influencers.
I'm curious if it's the reason you don't want to say it is because of the connotation, or is because you don't feel like you fill the role yet?
I don't think I filled the role yet. Yeah.
You don't think of it negatively?
No, I don't think it's negative. If someone's like, oh, I'm a YouTuber, I'm like, I don't have a negative connotation with that. Are you kidding?
Some people do.
Yeah, 100%. You could have negative connotations with anything. A lawyer could be a negative connotation, but not all lawyers are bad. You know what I mean? Anything can be negative, and it can be positive, so. I
would say, just as an outsider, I would say you really are a creator, because, and this is something I had to come to terms with, is you are this is the sad thing. Unfortunately, like, we feel validated by our numbers. If you were sitting here with 100,000 subscribers, I bet you would call yourself
Probably.
a YouTuber.
Yeah.
And that's sad to me because there's YouTubers who have 100,000 subscribers who I know don't work as hard as you. And it's like, you know, I had to come to terms with that myself because I literally have been like, I proudly call myself a YouTuber because I did this for 4 years and it took up so much of my life and my work and my time and my thoughts. And to like discredit myself because I only have 500 subscribers is like, I'm not gonna do that to myself.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying not to be measured by the metrics. It definitely gets to you for sure. And I'm only at like 4.5K like subscribers. Not only like that's great.
That's more than
I mean,
in
the
4
fact
years.
that I even started YouTube is something that I'm very happy about. And as much as I don't want it to be focused just on the number, but I think in terms of like being called a YouTuber or something, I'll fully admit that. I'll be honest, I'll be authentic about it.
Yeah.
I think it really does depend on the number.
Oh, and
You could be a YouTuber and technically post a 2-second video with 0 subscribers. That's a YouTuber.
you're being so honest right now because as much as I'm like an authentic person, I want to be like, yo, like frick the numbers. It's all about creating. Like, I also don't feel like a YouTuber most of the time because I don't have those numbers to validate me.
Yeah.
And I think that is.
I don't want to be lying to myself also.
Yeah, and I appreciate your honesty, and I think it's real, and I feel like people are listening to this and are going to relate to it. But the truth is, the second you upload the video, you are a YouTuber, and like in my eyes, it's like what makes you. I feel like I'm not a YouTuber right now because like I haven't been consistent. So it's like the metrics that you can control, which is your discipline, how frequently you upload, the quality of your videos, like if I was like ignoring all the subscribers and money made, like, and I was comparing myself to you, like right now I would, like, you're a YouTuber and I'm not because you're way more consistent, you're way more disciplined, and that's honestly why I switched to the podcast because I thought I could be more disciplined with it. But yeah, anyways.
Can you repeat your second question now? We broke apart talking about the creator.
Yeah.
Oh, feeling.
No, we almost just passed over the whole question.
I'm here to keep it on track.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping
Kidding.
the podcast
I'm kidding.
on track for you.
I'm really sarcastic. Don't take everything that I take seriously.
Do you feel like you relate to people less the more you accomplish your dreams?
Do I?
Or even, I don't even limit you to accomplishing your dreams because you might say, like, I don't think I'm
Yeah,
accomplishing
that's
them.
what I was gonna say.
The more you become the type of person you want to be, the more you live this lifestyle, and I know you know what this lifestyle is.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you relate to people less?
Short answer, yes. But I know that there are so many people out there that are very similar, with the same mindset and everything. I just think it has to do with college. You're in kind of a bubble. You know, sometimes people think you come to college and you get to go see the world more. You can, but it's also a bubble at the same time. And a lot of the people could be the same, but it's all who you surround yourself with. And I don't think that in terms of just people in general, like general population, that anyone is like necessarily better than anyone. So just because I have a mindset towards something, that doesn't mean I feel greater or less than anyone else necessarily. I just don't relate to them. I don't have the same morals, the same inspirations, the same drives to life.
Well, I really appreciate that you said, like, you don't feel like you're better than someone, because that's, like, I think that's the best mentality you can have, and that so many entrepreneurs and creators, they end up building an ego and stuff.
Yeah, ego is definitely the enemy. And
I'm now about to elaborate on my question and sound like what I just said was garbage, because I'm an economics major, and like basic economics is supply and demand. The more supply you have, the less something is worth. So, for example, if there's $1 million in the world, then $1 is worth much less if there's only $1 in the world, you know? And I think about this in terms of people and what they're doing too. And in college, it's like, it's not that I'm better than them or that you're better than them, but the truth is, like, much less people choose our lifestyle than people who choose their lifestyle. And by basic supply and demand, there's less people doing what we do, and therefore I think it makes it a little bit more valuable. That's how I see it. And I also think that it's like, I used to really like admire the fact that I was a YouTuber because no one else did it. At my high school, it was me and maybe one other kid out of 5,000 kids. And now it feels like everyone wants to be a YouTuber, everyone wants to be a TikToker, everyone wants to be an influencer. And I think honestly, basic supply and demands, like the value of being an influencer is less in my eyes. It's less than it once was, because it used to be something that made me stand out, whereas I don't feel that way anymore.
No, definitely. I just think that's I never thought about that in terms of like the supply and the demand.
Yeah.
But I think we got to differentiate for the audience of what we mean by different lifestyles.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, like,
So what do you mean by two different lifestyles?
you know, there's this guy, entrepreneur I really look up to named Elliot Bisnow, and he talks about dropping out of school. He talks about he was walking to class on his college campus, and there's like 10,000 kids walking, and he's literally just like, in the moment, he's like, everyone is going the same direction. Literally, they're all going the same direction. And he turned around and walked back to his dorm and dropped out of college and never went to school again. But I thought that was so interesting because that's like, I haven't had numeric success. I haven't made money. I didn't gain a bunch of subscribers. I dropped out of school a year ago. But when I'm on campus, I have this overwhelming feeling that I made the right decision because I see all these people doing the same thing. It's like they're all just going to class. They're all coming home and doing their homework. They're all...
That's a really big generalization, I'll say, though, because I used to definitely have the mindset of that. But if you just saw me and you didn't know who I was, you'd think of me exactly like that. And I'm sure that there are so many people out there that are just going to class, whatever. But who knows? They could be side hustling, making six figures.
Yeah.
For God, who knows that? Who knows? Like, and they don't have a platform or something like that. So yes.
I'm glad you're calling me out on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not. I have to call out myself also because I definitely have that mindset sometimes. I'm like, oh, everyone's in the matrix. Everyone's doing this. Like maybe that may be a possibility, but I have to look at my own flaws as well and see how I sometimes just have like this lens on that, like, no one's working towards anything. And yeah, that might be the reality for some things, but if you're just gonna be looking at the negative, that's all you're gonna get. You gotta be looking more towards the positive.
I don't think it's like, I kind of don't like the way I'm putting it, because it's not like a negative thing. It's more just like a being different thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, I'm sure you probably have felt in your lifetime that, like, it's gonna sound negative, but it's like a feeling of like, I don't belong, so let me go find the world where I do belong.
Yeah, I think I 100% understand that. And honestly, I think like 2 nights ago, I just had this realization. Or just take last night, for example. So today's Saturday, last night was Friday night. And typically Friday night college, you go out, you know, whatever. And I'm just like chilling in my room editing, and I'm not necessarily sad about it, but there's just this alignment that I feel, because like I used to always go out at night and stuff, and I thought that I was like aligned then, you know what I mean? But now when I'm like staying in and doing my own thing, I'm more aligned with like what I want, but there's still part of like that old self that's there. Sometimes it's like, oh, you should be doing that, but that's not what I want, you know?
But it is interesting, and I think I like that you're like defending people, because it's like, it's so easy to go down this route and just like move in ego. Even like people like us who don't have like big success, it's just easy to like make that generalization about people. And I appreciate that you're pointing it out, because this podcast is supposed to be about soul wealth. And I think like the premier place of soul wealth is knowing that like there is something to learn from everyone, and like I'm never too good, even for the person who like parties and they like don't do anything productive and they party their whole life. There's still something for me to learn from them, and they still have a beautiful life path. It's just different.
100%. And that's what I've learned. So I do some public interviews and I talk to people, and I'm sure if I sat down in an economics class, I could learn so much about whatever, you know, but then sometimes I'll interview even like homeless people or whoever it is, and I just gain this little like nugget of knowledge that actually really changes my perspective on a situation. So I think you can definitely get inspiration from anyone and anything.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a second. It's like Serafina does this, and I've always told you that I really like it, is that you interview people from all walks of life, including homeless people. And a lot of people will never show a homeless person the time of day, or sometimes people will give to homeless, they'll give money, they'll give something, but what those people really want is
Someone to talk to.
attention. No one's looked at them like a human for years. And can you like elaborate on some of those experiences and what you've learned from the homeless or the poor, or the less fortunate that you've interviewed?
Recently, I'll be honest, I haven't interviewed homeless people in a little bit.
Yeah,
just because sometimes it can be
it's scary.
That's
on it.
Being a woman or a man, whoever it is, you have to be cautious. I mean, that's with anyone though.
I got attacked by a homeless person really
You did?
intensely once. Should we sidecar this?
Yeah. What?
I was at this conference for The Third Door, which is a book I really like, and the author was there, and he was like, one of my favorite things to do is to get your friends and give back to the community. And so we broke out into groups, and we were supposed to go like give together. And it was LA, it was super hot. We bought a bunch of water bottles, and I was with my group, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be the first to like walk up to the homeless person. It's gonna be good. And I went to give this homeless person a water bottle. I was like, hey, do you want it? And he, like, dude, I don't even know how he had these athletic instincts. He whipped out his belt, like, and just started swinging it at me and chasing me down the street. And I was like running. I ran into a restaurant and closed the door, and he was like swinging on the door. And I'm someone who like wants to help people, and it did like skew my image. I'm not gonna lie. So I respect that you even have done it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should.
Definitely. That is not a great situation. There's good and bad in all people. That doesn't mean that every single homeless person's now going to attack me. That's how I think of it. And I know they're not trying to come off that way 100%. But that's definitely a very interesting situation. But in general, with just whoever I have interviewed, a lot of people say, one, enjoy your youth while you can. I know we talked about that earlier. That's a big one. And two, life really is about achieving something that's bigger than you.
Yeah.
Put your ego aside, put yourself aside.
And that's why the concept of this is soul wealth, because the truth is, and we're going to talk about this at the end of the podcast because it's something how I want to end the vibes, but the truth is, no one's going to say Serafina had 1 million subscribers or Serafina had the biggest YouTube channel. But it's interesting as you work towards those things, like, it's funny because you just sat here and me too, and we said like, yeah, we'll validate ourselves by the numbers, but the truth is that your value is in your relationships and the way you treat people, and that I think that both of us are already very successful in that metric. Mm-hmm. But like we hold ourselves back to like considering ourselves being successful because of like the new man. Yeah, which is like. Anyways, I want to move on to the next question, which is, I guess I should ask you a question to make sure this is correct. Do you know that you don't want to do anything related to school?
Do I know that I don't want to do anything related to school?
As in, like, right now you want to be a YouTuber and entrepreneur, correct?
Around the lines of that?
Like, because the question I want to ask you is, why do you stay in school if it's not what you want to do?
Oh, if it's not like my end goal or anything? Well, I actually came into college in social work. That was my major. I wanted to be a social worker. I'm gonna sound dumb. What is a social worker? Well, I mean, they work in many different areas. You could have a social worker, and like you had one in your high school probably that would help with like kids that have maybe bad family issues in their lives, or a a hospital social worker that would be in the hospitals helping people that way.
So it's literally just social work.
Yeah, there's so many different areas with it, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. That's what I was like so determined at that. So that's why I originally came to school, because I was like, I want to be a social worker, or another idea was a psychologist as well. I literally remember mapping it down, being like, 4 years of college, then grad school, and then I'm gonna work at somewhere and then open my own place or like whatever. This whole thing. So that's why I originally came to college.
Yeah.
But then for the reason as to why I'm still in college is that it really is what you make of it outside the classroom, in my opinion. You're never really going to have this type of community again in your life for the 4 years. And I will say I'm very fortunate enough to be able to be in college and experience this. So might as well while I can.
what I was explaining to Serafina before this podcast started was that I dropped out of school thinking that I would have so much more time to make videos and that I would like double down on YouTube and I'd go super hard. And I did have more time, but what I didn't realize is that how much of a muse college was for me. And a muse means like how much college inspired me to create. Like you're just in this pool of people your age. You're just like every day is a story. You go out on, a lot of people say this about New York City. It's like you go out and the city slaps you in the face with this story. And that's kind of how San Diego State was for me. Like there was always something going on with my roommates or class, or there was always something to talk about. And when I left, I kind of lost that, which is interesting. But I still feel like it was the right choice because I just feel like everything happens for a reason, and that, like, I think you have this too, where you just have this like overwhelming sense that like what's meant to be will be.
Yeah, it's just something that you can't even explain to someone else, just something within you. And I don't know what it is for you because I'm not you. Only you know. Something you can't explain. If you have that feeling, then sometimes your feelings aren't always valid, though, and you shouldn't always listen to them.
Yeah.
And you could be lying to yourself just because of a situation that happened. You're going to lie to yourself and tell yourself that, oh, it was the right decision because you're telling yourself that. And I definitely catch myself doing that sometimes, but I think you just have to listen to yourself and
I had
find it that way.
A sub-question related to staying in school, but I'm blanking on it. Anyways, we covered this in the last take, which we started filming a podcast before this, and I was just boofing it so hard that we restarted. But I'll get back to this topic. Do you think, now that it's been covered, you're a very hard worker, and when I was in school, I was a very hard worker too. I did the same thing. I went to class, I worked out, I made videos, I edited videos. It was my life. And there was a time when I had a job, I went to class, I was the busiest person I knew, and I would never tell people that I care about that I was too busy for them. And I want to ask you, because I know you're the same way, is like being too busy, can you truly be too busy for someone? Or is busyness like a filter for the people you truly care about?
I definitely think busyness would be a filter.
Yeah.
Because I consciously make an effort to not say that I'm busy.
I hate when
I don't know why. It just sounds like an excuse because some people's busy. They're like, oh, I'm too busy. Oh, I'm going out. You know what I mean? And I don't think busy is even the right word. It's just more of activities that you're doing that are fulfilling you. And no one, like, let's say it's something really traumatic happened to one of your friends. You're not going to be too busy to go help them. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to go out and help them. So I definitely think it's just a filter for people, I would say.
When someone tells me they're too busy to hang out, one time it's like, all right, understand. And keep in mind, all my friends are entrepreneurs. They're all creators. They're like not people. They're people who are really genuinely busy. And if someone tells me like more than 2 times that they're busy, then I just assume they don't like me. And I found it to be something that served me well, to be honest. And you know why I know I'm gonna admit this. If I've told someone multiple times that I'm too busy for them, that generally means the same thing going out for them, because it's like you do get to a point where you have to be selective with who you hang out with, and it's just such an easy way to.
Yeah, you can't be saying yes to every single person.
Yeah.
You know, I think as much as important it is to say yes, it's also very important to say no. And I think that happens at different points of your life. I feel like I'm at the point in my life right now where I need to be saying yes to things, but I'm sure I'm going to get to one point in like 5 years where like I need to be saying no to more things. So right now I'm young, I'm 20, I should go out and go experience things while they come, you know?
So, anyways, let's move on to our next topic, which I find very interesting, is I'm very in support of like creating real world experiences. I think that online communities have brought so much depression. Well, I mean, you can see it. Since the dawn of social media, we have the highest depression we've ever had, the highest suicide we've ever had. People are on anxiety medication more than ever before. And so it's clear that social media is contributing to these problems, and almost no one denies this. You have taken action. You deleted TikTok. Sometimes you run around with a flip phone.
Yes. Can't catch me with a flip phone.
Do you ever feel like by creating videos you're contributing to the problem you don't like?
Yeah, 100%. I've thought about this before. Yes, I have thought about this, and I've had not like a crisis, but I'm feeding into the system of making things worse. But I had to switch my lens and look at it as social media is here.
Yeah.
There's not some person that's just gonna be like, all right, it's gone. Like, it could be, but the odds of that are very slim. And I have to look at it, okay, how could I bring value to this negativity and maybe help someone out in that sense?
I have two things to say. It's interesting because and the reason I asked you this question is because I felt the same way. So I've been feeling very unpassionate about my own YouTube channel because I feel like I'm contributing to a problem that I want to solve. But you made a good point in the sense that social media is going to be here and people are going to be consuming it. So you by not having a channel like yours where you're adding value to people's lives, the more the real creators leave the platform because they want to live in the real world, the more you're just leaving garbage content for, I don't want to call it garbage content, but it's mindless content that's gonna
mind scrolling.
That's the harmful content. And one of the creator founders, Max Reisinger, he put it this way, which I thought was the best analogy I've ever heard for it. This train's walking by, so the train's walking. But he explained it in the terms of food. If you eat a big bowl of ice cream and junk food, in 30 minutes, you're gonna feel horrible. But if you sit down and eat a well-cooked meal with vegetables and a good meal, that's gonna nourish you. It's gonna feel great. And he talks about content like it's the same way. You can sit down, you can consume a bunch of mindless TikToks that make you laugh. It's kind of like eating a bag of chips or eating a chocolate bar. It feels good in the moment, but later it will manifest into anxiety, depression.
Yeah.
And I think though that you on YouTube, you're cooking up good meals.
I'm trying. I'm doing my best. I wouldn't say, you said that I am adding value, and I would say that some of my videos are definitely could just be more mindless stuff. 100%. I will admit that I'm trying to add more value into my videos, and that's something that I'm definitely working on trying to do. And I actually have had a very similar experience to what we were just talking about literally last night. So right now my newly rule right now with social media is that I'm deleting Instagram throughout the week, and then just on Sundays I have it so I can schedule my interviews for Society Perspective, where I post all my interviews.
Can you schedule posting it?
Yeah, you can schedule Reels and TikToks also. So that's what I've been doing.
Show me how to do it.
Yeah. So I've been doing that, and so then last night I was on YouTube and I was about to watch Bob Proctor. I know I told you about him, and I watch him all the time basically. And then I clicked shorts on YouTube and I was watching shorts, whatever, and then all of a sudden I just actually felt horrible. I felt horrible. And then I had to literally mentally switch my mindset, switch what I was watching, and I totally felt better so that totally relates.
I know you can literally go on YouTube, sit down and watch a 10-minute video, and this is why I admire we have this friend Chris who he has this business called Creator Camp, but they have this hashtag called YouTube New Wave. You should check out YouTube New Wave on YouTube, and it's basically all these people who are trying to make videos that really add value and they really tell good stories. And whenever I watch one of those videos, I get up feeling inspired. It literally makes me want to go create and go work. But then there's just times where you use you use YouTube or TikTok or any to zone out and to
escape reality.
And it's I almost don't want to diss it, because I feel there is a time and place for that. When you work really hard, maybe you work and you need to relax your mind in some way, and it's I think there is. I love a lot of funny videos and a lot of those kind of things, but I just think that it's it's kind of I consider it the American food job. It's in America we have the worst food in the world because we prioritize money. And I think on YouTube and social media you have some of these horrible videos that give people ADHD and give people health problems because they prioritize views and clicks and having the most viral content. So they give you all this ADHD editing and stuff. And so I find it a very similar juxtaposition of worlds.
Yeah, definitely.
So with that being said, if you got everything you ever wanted, what would your life look like?
if I got everything I wanted, I already got everything I want, if I'm being honest. It's already here. Everything that you want is already here. Nothing can be created or destroyed. It's already here. It's here. I just haven't physically attained it yet, but it's here. So you have to be enjoying the moments, because if you don't enjoy some of the moments getting there, you're never gonna be happy when you get to that moment.
This quote, I'm a big quote guy. I think you're a big quote girl, but that stuck with me like really hard, is that as long as you think happiness is somewhere else, it will never be where you're at. Like,
it's within yourself.
And I think that's a really big issue in our world of YouTube, is that like so many people post the video and they're like, the next one. Like, but what's the next one? How are we going to top it with views and stuff? And that's why a lot of people call YouTube, it's like a rat race.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get over that first year of like getting everything you've ever wanted, you get those views, you get the likes, you get the money, you get the possessions. It's like, and that's why this podcast, I'm starting it with the initiative of soul wealth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like to stop focusing on those wealth metrics.
Yeah, it's like just like that quote, like, you can be proud but don't be satisfied. And I think that's good. You should never be satisfied. Yeah. Dissatisfaction is the key, because that's what creates everything. Mm-hmm. This is literally from Bob Proctor's video that I watched. It's dissatisfaction that created the light bulb, because Einstein was like, I don't want to be using a candle anymore. Dissatisfaction brought that. Yeah. Same with the plane. Why the plane was created? Dissatisfaction. So I think dissatisfaction is key to having to create more.
Do you have anything you're like, what are you dissatisfied with at the moment?
I'm dissatisfied with the way that the media is.
I know what I'm dissatisfied with.
And the way that people are talking to each other through the media.
That's a good one.
And in person.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, you could go on a list of things, but you generally, one of my life's missions, things that I'm very dissatisfied with is that, and we kind of touched on it a little bit, is that I think that college, there's a lot of people who will agree that they don't think they need college anymore. They will say that like the internet has so much information, that there's great teachers online. There's so many people I talk to who are in college who feel like they don't need it. And I asked myself, like, why do they still go to college? And it's because of the social life. It's because the connections, the relationships, the real life social connection. And the thing I'm very dissatisfied with is I don't feel like that there's good places to meet people your age outside of college. It's kind of the last point in life where you will be surrounded by a pool of people your age, where it's like no one like openly says they want to meet their wife or a husband in a bar or a club, and no one, like, you don't usually make quality friends in a bar or a club. So it's like, where after college can you meet people?
I think you're so outside in the world.
And like, I know someone like you might be like, well, you gotta like go talk to strangers or go do things, like, or join clubs. And
it's not easy though. I 100% agree. It's not easy.
So many people are scared to do those things. Like, dude, talking to strangers is a barrier of entry that, I mean, I would say like 70% of people won't do.
But if I didn't have my camera, it would be a whole nother story. If I went up to someone who was like, hey, what's your biggest regret in life, and I didn't have my camera with me, they'd be like, what are you doing? So I think because I have my camera, it's my vessel that I'm able to talk to people.
Well, do you talk to strangers like not deeply like that? Like,
with or without my camera?
Without your camera.
I mean, I'll be honest, I would not, if someone's just sitting down, I would not go up randomly and ask them, like, what's your biggest regret, or whatever the question is. But I've definitely had some great conversations with strangers that were not for interviews.
I really firmly believe that talking to strangers and practicing that muscle is one of the best things you can do for your life. But back to what the question of being dissatisfied is, that, but my answer is that I really want to create third spaces. Do you know what a third space is? Okay, so a first space is like your house. Mm-hmm. It's where you live. So you might meet your mom, your dad, your brother in a first space. Second spaces are like places you have to go. So it's like class, your work. You might meet coworkers or classmates, or like a coffee shop. Or Or so then there's third spaces. Third spaces are places you don't have to go, but you have the opportunity to meet people. It's like a bar, a club, a coffee shop. And I think that in America, our third spaces, like there's so much room to improve, where it feels like I generally ask people, like, where are you going to meet friends after college? And very rarely do people have an answer for me. They feel like a lot of people feel lost. And I feel like it's an area that I'm very dissatisfied with. Like
And what are you going to do about it?
I want to open up. I don't know if I should reveal my business idea. What if someone steals it? I have some.
Someone can already steal your thoughts just from it being in your head, so
Yeah.
it's already out there.
I'll explain that.
There's this concept. I cannot highly speak on it
It's
because
in Think and Grow Rich. I know what you're talking about.
that whatever is going on in your head, like if you literally just like close your, I just think of this like closing your eyes, your thoughts, like right there, what you're thinking of is already a place, and people can pick up your energy of what you're thinking.
So
And I don't know if I'm explaining it right. I know there's a concept with a name, but I totally think I believe it.
Think and Grow Rich, the way they explain it, I'm going to give 2 book references because I've read 2 books that explain this concept. In Think and Grow Rich, they explain it as like the ether, that there is like an infinite source of knowledge
Yeah.
for anyone to access. And like anything exists in there. Like before Einstein made the light bulb, the information of how to make the light bulb exists in the ether. And like the way they explain it is that you can just, if you believe in yourself, and I don't know exactly, but it's like if you believe in yourself and you believe that everything is possible, that you can like access that information.
It's getting on the frequency of it.
But then I'm reading The Creative Act by Rick Rubin, which is super.
I bought that book because Chris told me about it, and then I was on Amazon, and then it popped up on there, and I was like, okay, I'll buy it. I haven't started reading it yet, but I
You're gonna
bought
love
it.
it.
Shout out Chris.
Yeah, shout out Chris. We freaking love Chris.
He's the best.
If he's listening. But the thing he says, which I had never heard before, that I found really interesting, is he talks about the same thing we're talking about, but he says that if you have an idea and someone else steals it,
But it's not original.
it's not that. That's a different concept than what I was saying.
Never mind, sorry to interrupt.
Austin Kleon talks about that a lot, stealing like an artist. So does Kanye, but tangent. What he says is that if you have an idea and someone steals it and they make your idea, he says it's not that you stole the idea, it's that the universe or God had a time for that place. There's a timeline of events, and that God, or if you choose to believe the universe, is like they have a time when that idea is going to come into fruition, and you can either like, if you don't choose to make it, then someone else will choose. So he describes it as it's not like a person who comes up with an idea and then it comes into the world. It's that the idea is already scheduled to come into the world, and you can be the vessel, and if you're not, then someone
But the universe has no conception of time. That's why patience is very hard for people. And that's why it's hard for me.
But I'm sorry. Am I explaining the idea I'm saying?
Yeah, I think.
It's like
Yeah.
it's like
I understand.
ideas don't move based on people. They are scheduled to come out, and it will just come out to whoever.
Got it.
That's the
like
idea.
who's ready to attain it.
Because the idea is that God has a time and purpose for everything, and if you're not gonna make that idea, then He'll have someone else make it. So the idea, like to give you an example, it's like if Thomas Edison didn't make the light bulb, it still would have came out then because that was God's timing. It's like I don't know if that's true or not. It's just like an interesting concept. I should have just read it straight from the book. It would have explained it better. But anyways, back to like the long form question. We've been on this for a while. What would your life look like if you got everything you ever wanted?
What would my life look like?
Because you gave a really good answer in the sense that you're like, I have it now. That's what I would say too.
Yeah.
I think that is the soul wealth answer, is that like, it's not in those monies or possessions or things, but
Having a family, for sure. That's something that I have like my own family, like my siblings and everything, but a husband and kids is something that's in the future that I don't have currently right now. So that would be in the future of what my life would look like, would be having a family.
I get really scared thinking about that because I'm like, if the world like continues to go in the direction it's going, I like don't know if I'd want to have kids.
You're just looking at it with the wrong lens. yeah, you can definitely be real and look at all the negatives, but
Bro, I feel like I'm coming off so negative, but
wait, no, I'm not saying you're
I'm a really positive person.
No, you definitely need to be like logical about it, and I see what you're saying about stuff that is going on in the world right now 100%. Like, I think it depends, but you can always look at, there's always going to be something wrong. There is always going to be something wrong. Let's say if all the problems were fixed now, the next day you're going to wake up, something else is going to be wrong.
Right. It's just a waste of time to like, it doesn't do you anything.
Yeah, I 100% see that view of like, oh, maybe you don't want to have kids in this world, but it's also like, where am I viewing this from? It's probably from social media, of people doing straight interviews and them talking about men and women. That's not the reality of life.
That's funny.
That's a very small circle of people, in my opinion.
Like the way I see it is just like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to get into that topic, so I'm just it. Only see if you had everything you were wrong. There was something else. You know, I think I'll just jump into our outro question, which is, I want to ask every guest, and I've hinted at it many times throughout this podcast, what do you want people to say about you when you die? No one is going to say, Serafina had 1 million subscribers. No one's going to say Serafina worked extremely hard. No one's going to say Serafina made a bunch of money. So what do you want people to say about you?
I know it's a very simple answer. I'm a pretty simple person, but I just want people to say that I was just a good light to be around. And it's not necessarily what other people would say about me, it's also what they would do about things. When they're doing something, I want them to think of me like, oh, she would go talk to that person, let's go talk to them. And kind of implement
like your way of life.
I want to be in like my friends' lives. If I like happen to like die early or something, like I want to be like not haunting them, but like I want to be there being like, yeah, she would do that, so we're gonna go,
like,
you know,
that extra step.
You know, or she would take the risk, so I should take the risk.
Well, I find that though, even aligning myself with people I want to be like, there's, shout out Chris, there's times where I will be in situations I'll be like, but Chris would go do this, so I should go do it. Or like even with you a little bit, it's like when we all, like the other day we all jumped in the ocean water when it was freaking cold, and it's like, I wasn't gonna be the one not do it. Like, no one wants to be the person not do it. But
peer pressure.
Yeah. Peer pressure is one of those things where it can be
healthy.
It can be really like a positive thing, but I feel like it was always put in a negative connotation.
Yeah, definitely. For you, the one thing I've learned from you, definitely, and he is a very positive person. I'm not like, I'm not like whatever. I can be so negative at times as well. But the one thing from you definitely is just saying yes to more things. Like the stranger dinner that we've done is just like saying yes to meeting more people and doing that. Because I can definitely get in my little bubble, my own little world of just wanting to stay in my room and work on videos. But life is really about creating a memory, as you always say. So.
Right, bro. It's soul wealth.
Yeah.
Soul wealth. I think Serafina has really good soul wealth. I think that she knows. She knows.
Do I know? Don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. I want to say this too. When I film these podcasts, is that I'm not in a place where I can interview the most famous people, but I have a lot of good connections, and I love interviewing people like Serafina because I really believe she will be successful one day. And how many subscribers are you got right now?
4.56.
I'm telling you, like, straight into this camera audience.
That's on my main channel, and my personal one's less, or my Society Perspective is like 800.
I'm telling you, I believe with my whole heart that she will have 1 million subscribers one day, or maybe it won't be subscribers, but she'll be a millionaire. She'll be successful in some way, and I think that this podcast will live on the internet as a hidden gem that there will be one day when multiple people would be trying to interview you, and the audience will come and watch this, and it'll be a hidden gem. So,
thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. And same goes with you with this podcast. I see it going places.
You're hug it out. All right. That's it.
Wait, that was great. Wait, now, okay.